All right, here we go, guys. We are here live for the Thursday, August 5th edition of the MMAOB Daily Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Adam Martin, and I'm joined by my guy there in the Netherlands, Mr. Big Marcel. What's up, man?
Yeah, I'm all good. But first of all, what's up with you, man? I think you have better news than I do. So
Yeah, I mean, that is why the podcast isn't on Tuesday this week. But yeah, I am a dad now, man, which is awesome. So my daughter was born on Tuesday night. And on August 3rd, I'm really excited about it, man. Like, she's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Like, I'm in love already, obviously, and it's crazy, man. It's like a rite of passage, right? It's like the next step in my life as a man, as a human being. We named her Gracie. I wanted to name her something that had to do with MMA. It was just hard. I didn't want to name her something like Rhonda or like Misha or Holly, because those names stink. But I wanted to name her something nice, and I thought we picked a good one. So I'm happy about it, man. It's good times, Marcel, and yeah. But I want to do the podcast still, though. Like, I really did. My fiance is having a nap right now, and my mom is watching the baby, so I got like an hour max. You know what I mean? Really, I shouldn't be doing this, but I want to, and she's okay with me doing it, just because honestly, the last couple of days has been just in the hospital. You know, it's just been crazy, right? I was gone for like 4 days, I think. So I'm finally back. Had a shower. I still haven't shaved. I got to shave, Marcel. I feel kind of dirty here, but. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I know. Okay, so let's get to these comments. Tim, what's up, man? Thanks. He says, pre-active strike the like button. That's good, man. Marcus, congrats on the baby, Adam. Appreciate it, man. Hope all is well with you too, Marcus. I appreciate it, guys. Anyways, I appreciate it, guys, but I do want to preview this card, like I said. It's a good card, Marcel, and I got to be honest. Okay, so there's a lot of waiting around in the hospital, right? There's a lot of waiting around. So yeah. I'm like, all right. I'm like, my plan was literally to do nothing, but I was like, there's nothing to do. So I'm sitting on my phone watching YouTube. I was watching poker and stuff the past time. Then I'm like, man, you know what? Just do the tape study. So I freaking did the tape. I did the tape study for 265 Monday and Tuesday while I was waiting for my fiance in labor. So it was just 2 days of just like, basically while we were waiting for the kid to come, So I went through these fights, and yeah, I want to talk about them with you, Marcel. But yeah, I love it, man. I love MMA. I love my daughter. I love my family. It's the only thing that mattered to me, man. My family and the sport, honestly. It's the only things. If I only had two things in the world, it'd be my family and MMA, Marcel. And I think I'd be happy with that. I really would. I'd be happy with just those two things. I'm not a guy who wants a lot in life. I'm excited. Kevin, what's up, man? He said, congrats, Gane. I appreciate it, Kevin. Kevin sent me an email today, which was really nice. And a lot of people reached out. I really just appreciate it, guys. I truly appreciate it. Thank you. Like I said, it's like the next step in my life as like a person. Marcel is a man. It's a good time in my life for this to happen. I wish I could bring her on camera right now, but she's absolutely exhausted. And honestly, I don't think that's a good idea. But when she's older, I definitely will. But she's really nice, Marcel. All right, I'm sure other people will say something during the show. I'll definitely take your comments, guys. What are you gonna say?
I'm very happy for Thanks, you and for your fiance, man. It's all best wishes from
I appreciate it, Marcel. You're a really good friend, man, and all you guys are too. I mean, Kevin, Marcus, Tim. I mean, you guys are supporters of me, and I appreciate that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm the kind of guy, man. Like, I truly appreciate the people that were here with me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a egotistical guy. I'm not a cloud chaser, Marcel. I just really love the sport, and I like talking about it with you guys. Oregon, what's up, man? Another guy, one of my favorites. So let's get into this card, guys. Let's do it. Let's break down UFC 265. Let's start with the first fight of the card, Marcel. Jamie Simmons against Johnny Munhoz. So you know what? I gotta be honest. This is an interesting fight because I only knew Jamie Simmons really from the Chiesa fight where he got kicked in the head, right? I didn't really watch his other fights back then, so just because I'm like, all right, he's not going to beat Jake on like 1 week's notice. Everyone knew that, so I didn't even bother to tape study that guy back in last year when he made his debut. So I watched his fights, Marcel, Jamie Simmons. I should take the odds here. Munhoz is a big favorite, minus 275. Jamie Simmons plus 235. So I didn't know a lot about Jamie, and watching his fights, you know what? He's actually a nice grappler, Marcel. He's got good wrestling. He does. And the thing is about this fight, he is moving down to 135, so that does make it a little bit more intriguing because he is the guy who's fought at 155 and 145, obviously, against Chiesa. So I think he could have a better performance, but at the same time, I've been watching this guy's fights, and I've seen him get finished a couple times, especially by knockout. It seems like he's a bit chinny. The fight with Jake Childers was interesting because he got hit with a knee, and then the guy put a Darce choke on him. They counted it as a knee, but I think it was a technical submission, really. If you watch the fight, you'll know what I'm talking about. The guy's got a good ground game, Marcel, but I'm not sold in his stand-up, basically. Here's the thing with Johnny Munhoz, though. It's like, I like this guy. He seems like a good prospect. If you check his Instagram out, the guy's in absolutely insane shape right now for this fight. And against Nate Maness, that was a really close fight against Nate Maness, Marcel. It was actually a year ago now. Very, very close fight. And if you look at the stats for that fight, this guy had like almost 10 minutes of control against the fence in that fight. And he still lost the decision because he wasn't offensive enough. But this guy's got a good ground game too and good wrestling. So for me, Marcel, it's two grapplers going at it, Marcel. I'm going to favor the guy in Johnny Munhoz, who I think is just a little bit stronger and a little bit of a better fighter. I think he's a bit of a better striker too. So I think he's a little bit more well-rounded, and I'll take him over Simmons. Even though I think Simmons actually has pretty good wrestling, and I think it's being a little bit undersold. I just think it's a bad fight against Johnny Munhoz. A guy who, again, you look at that fight with Nate Maness, a lot of cage fighting on that fight, and he seems like he's going to be hard to take down. So I think it's going to stay on the feet. I expect him to kind of outstrike Simmons. I'm not sure if he knocks him out, he could, but I think he wins this fight. What do you think, Marcel?
So I want to go back to that Nate Maness against Johnny Munhoz fight. I think he got a point deducted in that fight.
He did for a low blow, I believe, in the third round. Yeah.
And that's why I scored a 28-28. So I had a draw in that one. So I thought Munhoz won the fight, but because of that point deduction, I had 28-28. But he lost the fight 29-27 on 3 scorecards. So he lost the fight unanimous decision, which I didn't agree with. So let's keep that in mind at first. This is his second fight in the UFC, just like Jamie Simmons. Yeah, Simmons lost to Giga Chikadze, like you said. He's going now to bantamweight. I think it will be a fun fight to open the night with, man. I think it's a competitive fight. I'm really looking forward how Jamie Simmons looks at bantamweight. But I gotta say, man, I don't think Johnny Munhoz was that bad in his debut, man. I think he looked pretty solid. I don't think he lost the fight. I like what I saw from the guy. I think he's a former King of the Cage champion as well. I think he fought there many times. He only fought there, I think, before he went to the UFC, at least in his pro career. I would go with Johnny Munhoz via decision, man. I think he will get it done. I think he's a slightly better fighter than Simmons. I think it's close, but I would take him, man, in this one.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say about that fight with Nate Maness, so I think I bet on Maness in that fight and was happy about it, but I remember it being like a really close fight. I'm looking at the stats of that fight, and I get it. Judges don't have access to this stuff, and I understand that. But here's the thing. Johnny Munhoz outlanded him 49-21 in significant strikes. He also had 9 minutes and 42 seconds of cage control or control on top position compared to 1 minute and 29 seconds. Here's the thing. He only landed 2 of 16 takedowns. I think the judges fucked up because they gave him credit for defense when they shouldn't have. Defense is not scored in MMA. So basically it was a close fight, but Munhoz was the more effective striker. He should have won the fight, Marcel. Or it could have been a draw. But I don't agree with those scorecards. I think that's a wacky scorecard. And honestly, this guy probably should be undefeated right now, guys. So a draw probably would have been a fair result in that last fight. Keep that in mind here. I mean, I feel like the odds are maybe they're a little bit high because Simmons, by the way, you know what's funny? You know his real name is actually James Krause Simmons. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird, eh? But obviously he's already a James Krause, so he's Jamie Simmons now.
I remember when he got signed by the UFC, people were like, James Krause is fighting Giga Chikadze. And people are like, huh? How? It's like, no, it's another James Krause. And then it went to Jamie Simmons Krause or something. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. All right. So let's go to the next fight here. We have a women's flyweight bout between Victoria Leonardo and Melissa Gatto, and it's a pick of Marcel, -110 each. By the way, the last fight, Tim thinks that Munhoz wins by submission. I think he could too, man. Great ground game. Very, very good. I like his submissions a lot. It's nasty on the ground. Give me your thoughts on this one, though. Gatto and Leonardo. Gatto making her debut, Marcel, in the UFC. She hasn't fought in 3 years. She was suspended by USADA, I believe, for 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. Definitely, pretty attractive girl. I can see why the UFC would want to promote her, I guess you could say. But I mean, to me, she's not proven. The thing is, she does have a good win over Carol Rosa on her resume by submission, and she's good on the ground. But I don't know, Marcel. I mean, this is an interesting fight. I mean, Leonardo is someone that I think a lot of us don't think is a great fighter. I don't think she is, but she can win these type of fights, and she's fighting someone who's fought in forever. So it's interesting. I mean, I know I'm breaking it down before you. I want to get your thoughts on it. I guess I broke it down already, but for me, it's like Gatto, I think, does have more potential, in the sport. She's a little bit younger and stuff, and I think she does have more upside. That's why I'm going to pick her, but it's not confident because we've never even seen her fight in the UFC, guys. She's never even fought Contender Series. So for me, it's like at least Leonardo has some experience in Invictus. She has UFC experience. I know she got smoked by Fiorot, but a lot of people do, She looked great in Contender Series, guys. I think it's a close fight, Marcel. Slight lean towards Gatto just because she's an undefeated fighter that I think is young and could make improvements. But I'm not confident at all, Marcel, honestly. What do you think, man?
And this fight kind of screams the same scream as it made with Emily Whitmire against Amanda Ribas. Amanda Ribas was gone for 2 years. Also by USADA. She got cleared, by the way, by USADA 1 month before the suspension was over. And I mean, Whitmire I won't say is a bad fighter, but she's also not really great in my opinion. And this is the kind of resemblance, man. You got Gatto, who's making her debut in the UFC. I don't say Gatto and Ribas have the same qualities, absolutely not. But I mean, it's from his perspective of like she's coming off her last fight was in 2018. If you look at Leonardo, I'm not sold on Leonardo at all. I think Leonardo, she fought once in the UFC. She lost against Manon Fiorot. Those things happen. Fiorot is really good. If you look at a contender series fight against Chelsea Hackett, she got smashed in the first round, man. But Hackett got gas and all, and she got finished in the second round. So, I mean, she has some good wins on her record. She has a win over Haley Cohen and over Stephanie Geldmacher. But, I mean, I think Gatto has more upside in this fight, man. And definitely, man, I think a Kimura win in the first round against Carl Rosa, that's big, because I think Carl Rosa is pretty good, Yeah, I'm also not convinced, because we haven't seen too much of Gatto, and she's coming off it's almost 3 years without a fight. It's a 2 year suspension, but almost 3 years without a fight. But yeah, I'm going with Gatto. Let's go with a decision.
Yeah, and the other thing I'll say about this fight is, she's moving down to 125. The win over Rosa was 135, so I think she'll probably be a bigger flyweight. But there's this fight. You guys can watch this on YouTube against Sydney Rocha, who's 43 years old. I guess she was like 37 when she fought her or something. She was out wrestled in that fight and somehow came away with a draw. If you guys want to watch that fight, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's just, I don't even know how she won that fight. The thing is Leonardo that good of a wrestler? I think someone who's a good wrestler will beat her, but I think in this fight, she actually might be the better grappler, and she might win by submission, maybe Marcel too. But it's just not confident because we've never seen her. And I want to get these comments, guys. Jose, good afternoon, guys. Congrats on the birth of your daughter, Adam. Thanks so much, Jose. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Jose says thoughts on Miles John. We're going to talk about him in a second. Again, I'm staying away from these first couple of fights. Man, there's some good fights in this card, and I do think these first couple of fights could surprise us, but it's just sketchy because, there's not a lot of information on some of these guys, like especially Gatto. Marcel, no fights in the UFC, 3-year layoff. We really don't know what to expect. I mean, again, as a pure pick, I'll take the upside, take the younger fighter, but it's just more of a fade on Leonardo, who I just don't think's that good, Marcel. You know what I mean? Rex Lee, congrats on. Thanks so much, Rex. Appreciate that, man. Born Again says the Deegan lifestyle. That's funny. All right, let's go to the next fight here. Miles Johns, that's who Jose was asking about, against Anderson dos Santos. Okay, so we actually broke this fight down. I want to say it was like 2 weeks ago, maybe 3. The fight got canceled because Anderson dos Santos had COVID. I picked Miles Johns, and my thoughts don't change in the fight. Actually, I feel even more confident actually in him now, to be honest with you, Marcel. I think Miles wins this fight, and obviously he's fighting at home now too, which I like. He's fighting in Texas, where he's from. I think it's going to be a pretty competitive fight, but I expect his grappling to be a little bit too much, Marcel. I do think the wrestling is going to be a little bit too much for Anderson dos Santos, a guy who really hasn't looked that great in the UFC. I know he subbed Martin Day, but I mean, who cares? Like, Martin Day is 0-4, I think, in the UFC, isn't he? 0-4? 0-4, and he lost a contender series too. He's actually 0-5 in Zuffa. That's not good, Marcel, at all. So to me, it's just like that's his big win. I don't know. Don't get me wrong. Maybe he could sub Johns. Johns leaves his neck out during a takedown attempt. I think Johns, from what I've seen, is a pretty solid fighter. I think it's a good matchup for Marcel, and I liked how he looked against last fight with the upgraded striking improvement. So I'm going with Miles Johns here, Marcel. And the odds I should mention, guys, -200, +170 for dos Santos. So I think 2-1's fair. I think that's a good, fair price on Miles Johns, -200. What do you think?
I'm also going with Miles Johns. I'm still at the same page as last time. I think maybe a late finish, but if not, he will win the decision. I really like Miles Johns, man, former LFA champion. Has looked good in the UFC despite one loss, where he lost to Bautista. But gotta say, man, that one loss that came in front of the Houston crowd as well with the Jones Reyes card. So I don't know if it's a real advantage, but that probably is an advantage with people behind you in the arena. So yeah, I'm going with the Miles Johns here as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same as Thorne
changed.
again. You know, like I've already been through my like action gambling phase a long time ago with MMA. It's more about it's an investment for me too. I'm the same as you, Born again, exact same way. And if you want to bet for action, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's just hard. You don't want to bet every fight, honestly. As someone who used to bet every fight years ago, you don't want to. You can't be confident in every single pick, guys. It's just a fact. I mean, you can't be. I feel pretty confident about John's. I got to be honest, Marcel, compared to Gatto and compared maybe to Munhoz. Well, actually, I think Munhoz wins too. But I think John's. I like him here, Marcel. I like him more than I did a couple weeks ago. I thought about the fight more. I just think the wrestling's gonna be too much. Unless he leaves his neck go, I don't see how he loses. All right, how about this fight? This one's interesting. I'll get your thoughts on this one first. Manel Kape against Ode Osborne. They spelled it wrong at Best Fight Odds. Oder. They spelled his name wrong. By the way, you can't even use I couldn't use Best Fight Odds at the hospital. They don't let you use gambling websites on the Wi-Fi there. So I couldn't use DraftKings. Okay. I couldn't use Best Fight Odds even to check the odds. Had to put the data on, which is all good. But give me your thoughts on this, man. Minus 190 for Manel Kape and plus 165 for Ode. Manel is been a bit of a disappointing in the UFC. Marcel, Ode Osborne, a guy who's kind of interesting here at 125. What do you think, man?
Yeah, it's kind of an odd fight, because you got Manel Kape. He fought twice in the UFC, came from the Rising as a champion. Pretty big name for the flyweight to get added to the roster, Lost his first fight against Pantoja because he couldn't let his hands go for some reason. And he kind of lost the second time because of the same thing. I still think he probably won that fight against Nicolau. It was a close fight. He lost a split decision. But he didn't let his hands go as he's normally doing, and that was very concerning to me. Now he's fighting Ode Osborne. Ode Osborne making his 125 debut in the UFC, started in the UFC in the 135 against Kelleher, lost that fight, then won against Rivera at 145 in the fight that was booked at 125 a month earlier. But then he was supposed to fight Dennis Bondar, and that would get cancelled. And then we did the Rivera fight again, and then it was 20 pounds heavier. He looked good in that fight. He knocked him out within 30 seconds. So now he's fighting Manel Kape. It's such a difficult fight, man. I think to pick because initial thoughts would probably say Manel Kape, but he hasn't fought to his full potential yet in the UFC, man, and he really has to do it this time because an 0-3 in the UFC would look really bad for him. Ode Osborne, very talented guy. He's 29. Manel Kape is 27. Actually, I'm kind of shocked by that when I read that because I thought Manel Kape would have been older than Ode Osborne, which is not the case. Mm-hmm. I think will be still a tough fight again for Manel Kape, man, to be really honest. But I'm picking him this time. I think he knows what's on the line. He needs to win this fight. And maybe he can stop him. I don't know, man. But I would go with a decision. But if he doesn't let his hands go again, he can again lose a decision, man, here because that was really concerning in both fights to me. Not as much as in the first, but the second fight was as well. But the first fight was pretty bad with not letting his hands go, really like staying on the outside. He was kind of pressuring, but also not really, It was a really weird situation in my opinion, and I think he can do so much better, and he knows that.
I agree. Literally, I write down notes and stuff, and the thing I said was, this guy doesn't let his hands go. He's just like Woodley. He's exactly like Tyron Woodley's been in his last couple of fights. Reluctant to throw his hands. And as a guy who bet on him in his last fight, I did think he beat Nicolau, but it was a frustrating fight to watch. I think he should have dominated that fight. He just wouldn't let his hands go. The few times he did, Marcel, he was hurting him, but he just wouldn't do it. And the same way with Moreno, or against Pantoja, excuse me, too much of a slow start. The guy's been too much of a slow starter. Like, he gives up the first round in every fight, it seems like. That's just not a good way to beat a guy like Ode Osborne. So I look at these odds. I don't think these odds are reflective of this fight at all, guys. I would love to know what you guys think. I think these odds are off. I'm taking Ode Osborne, man. I'm going to go with the underdog here, Marcel. I'm off the Kape bandwagon, and maybe he's going to come in here and knock this guy out. It's possible. Osborne, he definitely leaves some holes in his defense. There's no doubt about it. And we've seen that a few times. But offensively, man, this guy's an absolute monster, especially in the first round. He's a devastating finisher in the first round. Great knockout power and a nasty submission game, nasty as hell on the ground. 125 too, Marcel. I think he's good at this weight class. What are you going to say?
The funny thing is that what you're saying now is like, Ode is really aggressive in the first round, but maybe that can get the best out of Manel Kape as well. True. You know what I mean?
It's true. And the other thing I'm worried is he might get tired and gassed. That's the one thing I'm worried about with him, right? But there's some underdogs that are going to win on this card. I think this guy has a good chance. You know, Marcel?
No, underdogs never win, man. Look at the last one.
Yeah, we know about last week, guys. Let's not even talk about that. We've moved on. We're not ever talking about that card ever again. It was a great card to watch, but my wallet did not like that card. But, you know what? I look at Ode Osbourne, and he is the longer guy in this fight. He has a long reach advantage, 5 inches, taller guy, a guy who's fought at higher weight classes. You know, now Cape is a guy that has power when he lets his hands go. You've seen that in Ryzen, but not in the UFC. And I know he's got some good defensive wrestling, and maybe he'll be good enough to stuff the takedowns of Osbourne. Maybe Osbourne gets tired, and Cave ends up winning this fight. But I'm just not so. I'm off the bandwagon, and I think this guy can win. So we'll see. But again, like Born Again says, he's never been KO'd. There is a first time for everything. He could get subbed as well. This guy, Ode Osbourne's ground game is nasty as hell, guys. He trains with Zach Otto, and I think Jamie Simmons too. He's on that from that gym.
Yeah, same gym.
Yeah. So those guys have good ground games. They definitely do. And you know what? I remember watching this card. His first fight as an amateur was on the Sergio Pettis card in LFA. Lance Palmer was on that card. Pedro Munhoz actually was on that card. Zach Otto, the guy just mentioned, was on that card. Pedro Munhoz was fighting on the same card that he made his amateur debut on. That's pretty cool, I would say. So this is a guy I think that is a little bit underrated. Is a guy who's kind of been behind the scenes for many years as an amateur. And you know, man, I think he's good. So we'll see. I mean, maybe he goes in there and he stinks. A lot of these Contender Series guys obviously have not looked good in the UFC, Marcel, but I just don't trust Cape at all anymore. What are you going to say?
You know, I think I don't know if he's really underrated. Maybe Cape is a little bit overrated by the matchmakers.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know what I mean? By the bookies, you know.
I just don't understand why the odds are so. I mean, I guess like
it's probably a name value.
Yeah, I can see why he's favored. I get it. He trains with Cormier and these guys and stuff. He's training with Khabib right now. He's going to have Khabib in his corner. Khabib has not lost, I don't think, yet. But is Khabib going to go undefeated as a coach? No. He's not going to. You know what I mean, Marcel?
No, of course not, man.
He's not. Someone's going to lose, guys. And I don't know. We'll see. I mean, sure. I'm not saying, like, go put your, like, mortgage on Ode Osbourne, but I think as an underdog, I think that the odds are off.
I agree with you, man. I mean, I think it's what Cape. He came from Rice, and he had some hype behind his name, and people saw in his last fight it was kind of close, you know. Maybe even should have won that fight. So I think that's why. And you know, and Ode Osbourne is a very good fighter, but he doesn't have that name yet that Cape has, you know. And I think that's also a little bit based on that. But hey, we will see, man.
We'll see. I mean, I can see overlooking him
for
sure. I mean, maybe he comes out here and looks good in his fights. It's possible, but I just don't trust him anymore, Marcel. After the last 2 fights, I just don't trust him. I'm going to get these comments, guys. I missed a few. Morgan said he liked Miles Johns. Yeah, I like him too. Matt says Cape seems to let's fight escape him. Osbourne seems action-oriented. He says Osbourne by decision. It's possible that, you know what, maybe it's just the aggressiveness wins him this fight because Cape just doesn't want to throw his hands. It could come down to that. Glenn, congrats, Adam. Welcome, Gracie. Thanks so much, man. Still can't believe they had Cape as the title backup for his debut. That's true. That's true, actually. That's crazy. He would have got smoked. How is Cape a 2-1 favorite since Tim? I agree, man. I think the odds are off. Again, maybe he wins, but I just don't think the odds – I think the odds are not reflective of this fight. I do think Osbourne has a good chance to win. Borgen's looking at Osbourne by decision. Maybe. The guy's kind of a finisher, but it's possible. I mean, Cape is going to be hard to finish. But I look at Cape, Marcel. I got to be honest, Marcel. I think he's a little overrated. I got to be honest with you, you know. And he does have a lot of losses too, guys. Like recently, Marcel, he lost to Ulka Sasaki. He lost to her regional problem with that. Asakuri, he got revenge. But Nicolau, I thought he won. But the fact he didn't, it's his fault, honestly. He just didn't let his hands go. His coaches were screaming at him to move forward, and he just wouldn't. That's a frustrating guy to bet on. So I'm done with Cape for a while, guys. I think betting on him. I think I'm going to take a shot at Osbourne here. All right, let's go to Carolina Kovacevic against Jessica Penne. Carolina hasn't fought in a year. She got married, I believe. Jessica Penne just came back from a 4-year layoff, I want to say, and she beat Gonidez, but a lot of people didn't think she won that fight. I don't know if she won that fight.
No.
Anyways, this fight is pretty close, Marcel. The odds have -130 for Carolina, slight favorite. Jessica Penne +110. What do you think of this one, man?
Man, now I would have hoped you went earlier because I want to see what I scored that fight between Gonidez and let me check for a second.
Sure.
Man.
Okay, I'll break down the fight while you look. Okay,
perfect.
Oh, yeah, it's fine. I think it's competitive fight, guys, like probably, but I'm going to favor Carolina, even though she's looked absolutely terrible lately with the 4 straight losses. She's just a much more proven fighter, and she's a much, I think, better striker. I think that's what it comes down to. I just think she's a better striker. than Jessica Penne. Jessica Penne doesn't have much striking, and I'm still a little kind of scratching my head how she won that last fight, Marcel. Like, you know, she did have back control. I think it was the first round, maybe you give that to her, but I don't think she won that fight, guys. And she should be on a 4-fight losing skid right now. She's the older fighter in this fight, 38 years old. I've been looking to fade her. A lot of us picked against her. I didn't bet against her in the last fight, thankfully, but I don't know. It's just hard to like be super confident in Carolina, given that she's looked pretty bad lately. And she does have a win over Felice Herrig, her last win, but that fight, I watched it again. I mean, she could have lost that fight too. So she could be on a 5-fight losing skid. This guy's Bergen saying the decision prop. I kind of think that too. I think it's going to go to this distance, and that's a huge number, obviously, minus 385. But I think that's something you could parlay, because I don't see this fight ending inside the distance, Marcel. I think it goes the distance. Just get these comments from Kevin. Carolina, not based on much, but she's been training with Joanna for this camp. Penny's terrible. As long as KK isn't washed, she should take it. Carolina busts up Penny, who looks a little zombie-ish square takedowns. Yeah, I mean, it's just I wish I was more confident in her, Marcel, because the odds are good in Carolina. It's just that, again, she's looked bad and she hasn't fought in a while. But I can't pick Jessica Penny against her. I'm gonna take Carolina by decision. What do you think?
So yeah, if you look, man, Karolina Kowalkiewicz coming back after a 4-fight losing skid. You know, last one was against Felice Herrig and that Khabib Ayaquinta event in 2018. Was a split, should have been a unanimous decision in my opinion. If you look at Jessica Penne, I think, man, that Lupita Godinez, I've scored at 29 for Lupita. You know, I think she won that fight. And our last win before that was the very first card of a full strawweight in the Ultimate Fighter 20 finale against Randa Marcos in 2014. And she won that fight a split decision, and the fight that could have been easily Marcos's as well. It was a close fight, I remember. After that, she got a title shot against Joanna. So her last convincing win is in 2013 against Nick Daly Rivera in Invicta 6. You know, and we're at Invicta 42 right now. So I mean, it has been some time. There has been some time passed. You know, the thing is, Karolina Kowalkiewicz, I don't know how she returns. You know, that's a real factor here. If she has only like 50% from how she was when she was really good, you know, she beats Jessica Penne, in my opinion. You know, so only based on that, I'm thinking Karolina Kowalkiewicz wins the decision here, but she got to make sure that she doesn't get controlled on the ground and that Penne can take her down and keep her down. She can stop her, man, with punches. I think her stand-up is much better than
maybe
Penne.
She could finish her too. Maybe we're overlooking a finish in this fight. It's possible. Like she's got some. I just think Penne. You guys are talking about the scar tissue in the comments. Maybe she gets cut up and remember that fight with Joanna? It was she just unleashed a combo against the fence and finished her, right? Maybe that's what happens here.
Finish.
Pardon?
What you can get for a finish? What are the
finish is plus 685. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to happen, guys, but it's better. Like
it's a possibility.
Yeah, it's definitely. I wouldn't completely write it off. I'm still going to pick. Don't get me wrong. I'm picking Carolina by decision. Everyone is.
Same.
Or you're picking the fight going the distance. I don't think many people are going to pick it to win. It's like distance, but those odds are a little high because I think that she could get finished Penne in this fight. But I'm leaning towards decision. All right. I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts on this one. We got Alonzo Menefield gets Ed Herman at 205 pounds. Alonzo Menefield minus 240, Ed Herman plus 200. I want to mention first, Ed Herman was supposed to fight, what's his name? Danilo Marquez, I think it was 2 months ago, and Kennedy Checker was filled in on short notice, right? So James interviewed Ed, and the reason Ed pulled out that fight is not because he was injured. He wanted to fight in front of a crowd and told the UFC, I'm not fighting the Apex anymore. He's like, I'm not fighting in the Apex. I want the crowd be behind me. I want to hear the crowd roar. I have a lot of respect for Ed Herman, guys. He's a guy that I honestly fucking hated him on the Ultimate Fighter. I hated Bisping too. They were both such pricks. Like we called him short fuse, right? He had a bad attitude and everything. But this he's one of my favorite fighters in the UFC, Marcel. I mean, he's the longest tenured fighter in the UFC. He has been in the UFC for 15 years. How do you not have respect for this guy? I mean, he's one of the toughest dudes I've ever seen in the UFC. And at age 40 is still winning fights in impressive fashion. I understand the last fight. I'll break it down for you, Marcel, just so you know. The last fight, obviously, with Mike Rodriguez, we'll saw that fight, guys. It was probably a fight that Chris Tognoni screwed up. Let's be honest, okay? Not the first time he's fucked up a stoppage. But the fact that Ed came back and won that fight by sub, it just once again proves how dangerous this guy is as a complete mixed martial artist. His ground game's so dangerous. And he's also amazing in the clinch, too. He's really good in the clinch. Nasty knees from the clinch, elbows from the clinch. And I look at Menefield, And as good as he is, Marcel, with the striking and the first round, and obviously he had the submission in his last fight, which was impressive. It's a guy that gasses out. It's a guy that, against Devin Clark, really struggled in a fight against the fence. I'm going to take a shot on the underdog here, Marcel. I'm going to take Ed Herman. Age 40, I know I don't like taking the older guys here, but I do not trust Alonzo Menifield's cardio whatsoever. And I think Ed Herman is tough enough to survive a first round and win this fight late. I think he's going to finish Menifield in the second or third round. I'm going to say knees in the clinch. And I know he's 41. I realize he's a 40-plus guy. I don't love picking 40-plus guys, but they do occasionally win. And Alonzo's not a young guy either. He's 33. You know what I mean? He's not super young either, guys. And to me, the guy got knocked out by OSP 2 fights ago, guys. OSP is basically going to be cut if he loses to Philippe Lins in his next fight. And Devin Clark's not great either. And again, that fight against the fence, I look at Herman against a guy like Pat Cummins. Couldn't take him down, got him in the clinch and kneed him in the face and knocked him out. I know Cummins very chinny, but Tim Boach did the same thing, got him in the clinch, kneed him in the face. The guy he's an underrated guy. He's won many times as an underdog. Won his last fight as an underdog. Kadis Ibrahimov was an underdog. Against Cummins was an underdog. Against Boach was an underdog. Against Tal was an underdog. So last time one was against Trevor Smith as a favorite, and that was in 2013. He's won only as a dog. He's like Darren Elkins. He's a very similar guy, Marcel. You look at him, he's nothing special, but I think he can win this fight. I really do. And I know obviously Menifield, super talented guy. He's fighting at home. He says he's convinced he's going to put on a performance on the night. I think he can lose this fight. Maybe I'm being swayed by the odds, but I legitimately think Ed Herman can win this fight. I think Ed Herman can win, guys. I just don't trust Menifield at all with cardio past the first round. What do you think, Marcel?
I also don't trust Menifield with cardio past the first round, but I don't expect the fight to go past the first round, to be really honest. So the thing is, for me, like Ed Herman, I respect him as well a lot. He's on a 3-fight winning streak. Still kind of a nasty streak against Mike Rodriguez, man. Not going to lie. But, I mean, that was a referee's fault. I'm not going to blame that on Ed Herman. If you look at Alonzo Menifield, like you said, man, he has some real cardio issues, and you see it in every fight he lost so far. Against Devin Clark, he started very good and got cardio issues. Same with Ogun St. Preux. Luque was against Fabio Cherant last time out, but that was a short notice replacement. So the thing is, for me, if this fight goes over 1.5, Ed Herman will probably win the fight. If this fight goes under 1.5, I pick Alonzo Menifield, and I'm taking Alonzo Menifield via knockout in the first round.
There you go. I mean,
it's a gamble.
Ed's been knocked out. We've seen Ed get knocked out by Krylov and Brunson, right? But I mean, the guy's pretty tough, Marcel. He's got a good chin, man, no doubt.
I know.
So we'll see.
It's a gamble, you know.
I know it is. I think the line's off. I just think it's a closer fight than the odds adjust for sure. Would you say that minus 240? That seems pretty.
Yeah, I don't agree with that because Ed Herman has definitely ways to win this fight. So,
yeah, I mean, like I look at William Knight. He was supposed to fight Menifield, and the fight it was a pick'em price. Now all of a sudden he's a huge favorite against Ed Herman. I don't know about that, guys. That seems a little weird to me. So I don't know. Let me get the comments here. Glenn, for the last fight, you liked Carolina by decision. Yeah, I think that's why I'm picking Marcel. Oregon, Herman got outclassed by Rodriguez for the miracle controversial ending. I mean, he still won the fight, though, man. Like, Marcel, like, even though, if Mike Rodriguez was that good, why didn't he finish him? He had time to finish him. He gets subbed. This guy is dangerous if he goes to the ground. I think he's going to have a good ground game. Herman's almost 41. That's the thing. I hate betting on these 40-plus fighters, but occasionally they pull it off. Very occasionally. Not a lot. Menifield could explode in first round finish, for sure. There's no doubt about it. Herman's out to be knocked out. Lines off. Menifield's longest win is 5 minutes, 30 seconds. Might be worth an in-play bet after first minute of round 2. For sure. I don't think maybe you do get Herman at a better number even after the first round because you might lose it, right? Guys, after last week where we had 7 or 8 upsets more so with fights that like Jason Witt beating Brian Barberina and stuff, nothing will surprise me anymore after that last card. I got to be honest. And I know you guys probably think I'm crazy taking Ed Herman, but I'm going to take him to win. I think he can knock out.
I know you were so disappointed with Sean Strickland winning because you wanted that 12 streak.
By the way, give me your quickly. We don't have a lot of time here, but he's fighting Luke Rockhold. Do you like that fight or no? What do you think of that one?
For me, it doesn't make sense to be honest.
But that's what I'm saying. He's not even ranked. I don't get it.
Yeah,
it's weird. Luke's a good fighter, but I think Luke should have got someone kind of to bounce back. And I think Luke could probably get finished in this fight, but we'll see. We'll talk about that in November. Maybe a hedge play. Could be. I mean, like I said, I don't have confidence at all in Menifield past the first round. At all. And we saw a perfect example of that with the OSP fight, which I did bet on OSP in that fight. It was successful. And the only reason I did is because of the Devin Clark fight where I was I really like Menifield in that fight. He disappointed the hell out of me, and I just have a little bit less trust in him. Don't get me wrong, guys. Ed Herman, obviously, he's old. Like, he's not as durable as he used to be for sure. But I just think the line's off, and some underdogs are going to win. And, you got to take some shots at some dogs sometime. And I think this is a guy that legitimately has a chance to win. Again, if Menifield doesn't finish in the first round. All right, let's go to the next fight. Draco Rodriguez, Vince Morales. This one's kind of a weird fight, Marcel, 135. Draco, it's a pick-em fight, minus 110 each. So literally a pick-em. Close one to call, Marcel. Give me your thoughts. Yeah, maybe we'll go through this one a little quicker because I feel like it's a pretty tough fight to call, pretty tricky. What do you think?
Kind of a 50-50 fight. Funny thing is that Vince Morales is 1-3 in the UFC with his one win against Ayman Zahabi, and Draco Rodriguez has one fight in the UFC and he lost to Ayman Zahabi. Doesn't say anything, to be really honest.
MMA math never works.
Exactly how it is, man. So doesn't really say anything. It's a 50-50 fight for me, man. If I had to pick somebody, I still think Draco Rodriguez. I really like the dude, so I'm picking him by decision. You want to have it quick? You have it quick here.
Yeah, because I just think that this was a tough one to call, and there's not a lot of information in Draco. I mean, we saw him obviously fight Ayman, got KO'd quick. It's a big favorite. He looked good in the contender series against Leo Mano Martinez. That Mano Martinez, they call him now. He actually got signed by the UFC. He's Fury. I think it's called Fury FC. It's a Texas promotion. He's good. So that's a good win, but I don't know, man. I mean, I was watching his fights in King of the Cage they're on Fight Pass, and it's like the competition was so low in those fights, Marcel, and I don't know. I'm not completely sold on this guy's durability, his chin after getting KO'd by Zahabi like that. That really worries me. And my initial thoughts going into this one before I even did the research was Draco probably should win, but looking at Morales, I think the guy is a little bit underrated, to be honest. He's a good striker, good movement on the feet. He didn't look terrible against Benito Lopez. You look at MMA decisions for that fight, guys. Most people thought that he won that fight. So he could be on a 2-fight win streak right now, not on a 2-fight losing skid. And again, those losses were to Song Yadong, which is no shame in that, and same with Gutierrez. I think this guy is a little bit underrated. The only problem is I just heard that he's been out for a year because he had an Achilles tear. So that's not a good sign, obviously. And that's worrisome coming back from a year-long layoff for an Achilles tear. But I actually was more impressed by this guy than I thought I would be when I watched the fights again. So I think this guy can win. I want to take Vince Morales by decision, but it's super close. And are you watching Brave, Marcel, this week? You're going to watch it? They're asking you.
Am I going to watch it this week, or did I watch it?
Whatever it is, I don't know.
I haven't watched it. I didn't watch it because we had how do you say that? We had the podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
I
remember that. I remember now. Someone was asking. Yeah. I remember now.
I didn't watch it live.
Or it's Sunday. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't Sunday.
Yeah, I remember. I watched after the podcast. I didn't realize, but the Cage Warriors card was on. I watched that card. Kyle Stewart, who used to be in the UFC, had a nasty knockout. I don't know if you saw that uppercut knockout.
Well, I mean. Yeah,
the guy who's fighting sucks.
But no, that's not what I want to say. I watched it back. But why the hell? It's Cage Warriors. I know it's in America for the first time. Why the hell are you starting at 4:30 in the morning over here, man? At least give some reasonable times. You know what I mean? That everybody can watch it.
Yeah,
I was actually mad about that, man. I was like, they had on their website, they had like 8 p.m. prelims, 10 p.m. main card, and then. That wasn't right, because then I saw on their Twitter it's like it started at 10 hours. Like, what the fuck, 10 hours?
He's asking about
8 p.m. over
here. There's a card this
week.
Like, sorry, man. We can't talk about Brave right now. We don't really have time. We have like 5 more fights to talk about. So hopefully you can watch it, Marcel. But honestly, I'm focused on this card completely. Rafael Fiziev, Bobby Green. Let's talk about this fight, Marcel. So interesting fight here. Rafael finally coming back, Marcel. He's been looking for a fight for a long time now. Gets a fight against Bobby Green, a guy who's super game. He's always willing to fight anyone. Minus 270 for Rafael, plus 230 for Bobby Green. What's your thoughts, man?
Yeah, first of all, it drives me crazy that people saying Fiziev the whole damn time instead of Fiziev. You said it right.
I did. Okay, good.
Yeah. So, Rafael Fiziev. I mean, I like him, man. I liked him from when I saw him in Titan. I remember that he was supposed to fight in Contender Series, came to the UFC, then lost to Magomed Mustafayev. But Mustafayev is a good fighter, man. Then he got a 3-fight win streak, and I think people really took notice from him when he fought Mark Diakese, with that crazy, how do you say that? When Diakese did that kick, and he
Matrix.
Did that. Yeah, the Matrix kind of style. So people had then his eye on him, and he did amazing against Moicano, knocked him out in the first round, And that's fighting Bobby Green. Bobby Green, man, he is like the prototype of a tough veteran. You know what I mean? Always always being pretty decent. I don't think he is super flashy or whatever, but he's decent. And the problem for years with Bobby Green is the same problem that Jorge Masvidal had. He how do you say that? He coasts in sometimes, in fights. He's like, you come after me, I took my points, you're not going to get any points, I win on the decision, and then you lose by decision. It happened to him many times. I did a nice 3-fight win streak, lost to Thiago Moises last time. I still think it will be a tough fight for VZF, man, because Green will probably trying to wrestle him. I don't say VZF doesn't have wrestling, I think he has, but Green is tough, I still pick VZF. I think he wins the decision here. Probably not the very popular pick. Many people think he knocks out Green in the first round, but I respect Green a lot, man. I think VZF wins the decision. A competitive fight, but still Green will emerge victorious, man.
Yeah, Jose's asking about 267. I mean, the card looks amazing, but we have 20 minutes left. I'm going to focus on this card, guys. I can't take questions from other stuff. Sorry. We'll be back on Monday. We'll take other questions. I think this fight is definitely interesting, Marcel. I mean, Bobby Green's going to come to fight, right? Like, he's not going to go and lay down in the cage for anyone. It's going to be a tough fight, and really, he could be on a 4-fight win streak. The last fight was super close, as we all know. The thing is, though, like, I just think Fiziev is at a different level with the striking. Marcel, I really do, and I mean, the guy's got more power. Obviously, Bobby Green, he can fight dumb at times too. He puts his hands down at times, like puts his head forward. Like it works at times against low-level strikers. But remember that Dustin Poirier fight, Marcel, where he clowned around and he got absolutely destroyed. So yeah. I think that Fiziev probably wins this fight. I think it's going to be a little bit tougher of a fight than some people think. I think a decision, Marcel, does seem. I think that's more likely than a knockout. But Bobby Green. I mean, he has surprised in the past. I definitely am a fan of the guy. I just think that Fiziev, the striking levels, I think will be. It's just too far apart. No, it's just that we only have 20 minutes, guys. I got to go see my fiance. She's laying in bed with the kid, man. I mean, guys, like I 1 hour. That's all I can give to you guys. So I got 20 more minutes. We've got 5 more fights to talk about, Marcel, and I'm going to talk about them and break them down.
We will answer all your questions on Monday, and if you want to ask something what's really important, you can just tweet to us, man. We will.
Yeah, exactly. You guys can always send me or Marcel a message to you anytime, if something's burning. But obviously I like taking the questions in here. This is a good point for Pavel. He's like, Bobby went 1-6. I think the matchmakers like him because he just takes fights. He'll take a fight, Marcel. Like, who wanted to fight Rafael? No one did, Marcel. He could not fight a fight. They found Bobby Green. He's like, sure, I'll fight him, I think that he could, again, make it competitive. But, again, he's getting up there. He's coming off a bad weight miss, too. He got sick after the weight cut, remember, against Jim Miller. And he didn't fight. So that does make me worry a little bit, too. Matt says Bobby Green always makes fights close. Yeah, he does. And it's not like he's a scrub. He's a good fighter. It's just that I think Fiziev right now, at this point of his career with the striking, and also he does have good wrestling. That's the other thing I was going to say. I agree completely with you, Marcel. I wasn't sure, so I went back and watched a few of his fights. The wrestling's there too. So that's why I like this guy. He's a good fighter. All right, 5 more fights. What time is it right now? 4:43, 17 minutes. Let's do it, guys. Song Yadong gets Casey Kenny, Marcel, 135. Pick 'em fight, or actually Casey Kenny right now, minus 120. So slight favorite, plus 100 for Song Yadong. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, people absolutely going to hate me for this one, but I really never believed that Song Yadong was a top fighter, man. I think he's not bad at all. He's probably one of the better fighters out of China. But if you look in a critical way, man, he lost to Carla Phillips in his last fight. And I know Carla Phillips really put the brakes on in the third round, or he was gassed or whatever, because Song Yadong was taking over in the third, but he easily lost the first 2 rounds. If you look at Marlon Vera, competitive fight, still think he lost. If you look at Cody Stamann, he clearly lost that fight. I have no idea how that went to a draw. And even, man, Song Yadong had a point deducted in that fight, so he would have won the fight if he didn't have the point deducted. It's crazy to me. I had 30-27 for Cody Stamann. So, in my opinion, he's on a 3-fight losing streak. He's now fighting Casey Kenny. Casey Kenny lost to Dominic Cruz per decision, close fight. But if you look overall, he has been looking good in the UFC, man, I think. He lost to Merab Dvalishvili, but who doesn't? I mean, I have no doubt in my mind. I'm taking Casey Kenny here, man. I think he wins a decision in this one.
I'm glad to hear it, man. I actually feel the same way about this fight. I like Casey. I wasn't sure what you'd think because the line is close and Song Yadong is still getting a lot of respect in the sports books. And I don't know if it's worthy of it because I think he's lost his last 3 fights, Marcel, like you. I think he definitely lost to Marlon Vera. You guys watched that fight. They put my scorecard up as one of the tweets, and I'm like, Marlon Vera 29-28. And then they go 29-28 for Song. I'm like, what the heck? Cody Stamen fight, I don't know if he won that one either, man. And I bet on him in that fight, got lucky in that one, with the draw. But here's the thing. He's only 23, and he's got a lot of fights down in the UFC. He's only 10 fights. And he does train a favorite team alpha male. They're struggling. I don't know if that's true because two weeks ago they went 3-0, but last week they lost. The week before they went 3-0. Paiva won. Barber, I kind of won, I guess. And then who was the other guy that won? I can't remember who was.
Elkins.
Elkins won, yeah, Elkins. And then last week, Costi lost. So I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I think both guys cover good camps. Kenny's coming from MMA Lab. That's another interesting thing about this fight. It's MMA Lab against Team Alpha Male again, Marcel. It's the same camps against each other. So interesting fight. But for me, I like Casey Kenny in this fight by decision. I'm going to pick him that. But and I like this guy as a fighter. But the one problem I have with him, Marcel, is he really doesn't have much power. And that is a problem, I think. He's just kind of a point fighter. It's fun to watch. Don't get me wrong. He's good, guys. But you see it when he does step up in competition. And when the margin of error gets that thin, he doesn't have that fight-ending power to change the fight. And against Dominic Cruz, really, it was like one takedown in the 3rd round, lost in the fight. So he's competitive, but he's just missing that one thing. Can he beat Song Yadong? I think so. I'm going to take Kenny by decision. But I'm slowing my roll on this guy a little bit. I thought he was a little better than I think he is, Marcel. And that's why last week I said I think Phillips is better than him because I think he's more well-rounded. But that guy has a serious gas tank problem. Casey Kenny, I don't think has that same issue. They get these comments. Sorry, guys. There's a lot of comments here. Kenny, you got by decision. Thinking that too. By the way, what is that? Because I think we're both thinking that. Casey and Kenny by decision. Plus 168. I mean, that's not too bad. That's a much better price than minus 120. I mean, obviously, it's only 80-cent difference. Maybe you could finish them, but I think that it's not bad. I think that's what we're thinking. Pavlos' main card not worthy. I think it's a pretty good fight. I think they guess he'd like the fight with Dominic Cruz, but I think they could have put something else on. What are you going to say, Marcel?
Nothing.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking the Pena fight fell off the card. That's what happened too. I'm looking at you. I'm like, Marcel is thinking something right now. And then I started thinking, we got the pathways going on here. It's because Pena fell off the card. This wasn't on the main card, I don't believe. Was it?
It was.
Oh, it was. Okay. Oh, and Torres wasn't. Okay. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you guys are talking about Song and being young and the strength of schedule. Man, he's fought some good guys. At age 23 is 8 or 9 fights now. Alex. Congrats, Adam. Thanks so much, man. I appreciate it. That guy, Alex, is killing it these days, man. He's killing it all over Twitter and stuff, man, and doing a good job, man. Good job, Alex, with your reporting, man. Daniel says Kenny's a blow-up flyweight. He's being overvalued, been pretty crap lately, made him off. I mean, it's not like I was good last week either. Neither was Marcel. But, I think we've all seen – the thing about Casey is we've seen him fight. And same with Song. We have such a good sample size now. They have 5 or 6 fights, 7, 8 fights now in the UFC. So we've seen them fight. They're both good. I think Kenny can win a decision in this fight, but Yadong is good, man. And if he mixes in the wrestling, I think that would be his best way to win.
I know.
Possibly. What do you say?
I know my dong is good. Thank you.
Kevin's like he didn't like that fight with Nunez and Pena. Me either. Okay, Torres and Angela Hill. Let's do this fight. Tisha Torres right now minus 135. Angela Hill plus 115. So slight favorite to Tisha Torres, and the over 2.5 rounds minus 410. I'm just going to go and say it right now. I like Tisha Torres by decision in this fight, Marcel. That's what I'm thinking happens. I think that we saw this fight once, and I really don't think it's changed much. I think she's still a better striker. I still think she's the better grappler. So I know she's a little bit small. I don't love the fact she's so short and small for this division, but I just think the striking technique is so good. And Hill is good too with her volume. Don't get me wrong, but I just think Torres is going to land the cleaner shots in this fight. And if you look at her losing streak, Marcel, she lost 4 really good fighters, man. It wasn't that bad, I think that someone just got off her bandwagon there. I'm not saying she's amazing. She won't be a champ, I don't think, because again, Torres is like Casey Kenny. She doesn't have power at all. No power, right? She doesn't have fight-changing power, but she has pretty good technique and volume. So I think that the technique will win in this fight. What are you thinking, Marcel?
I'm thinking exactly the same as what you just said, man. Exactly the same. She has only lost to top competition. She won her last 2 fights. Angela Hill, always in split decisions, always on the bad side. But the thing is, many people say she won those fights. In my opinion, she didn't. So I mean, listen, man. Angela Hill wins every fight she should win. In my opinion, she pretty much loses every fight she should lose. So Tisha Torres, I pick her as well. Unanimous decision win, and maybe a split decision. I hope not for Angela.
That's the one thing. I actually, in my breakdown for this article, it's going to come with more elite fantasy. I wrote, the one problem I have with this fight is I know it's going the distance, and we're in Texas, and these judges are going to get involved. That's why I'm scared about the fight. But I think for sure it goes the distance, Marcel. For sure, right?
Yeah. I'd be surprised if not.
I would be surprised if this fight didn't end inside the distance. Tisha's sure the pick. Nothing's changed, so it's gotten better. But 36, Torres' power gets the decision. I just think her technique's better. Torres by decision right now is, let me double check that. We've got 10 minutes for 3 more fights, by the way. Torres by decision is plus 110. Yeah, it's just I got to go see my kid.
Yeah.
Pablo Alexandra Hill, definitely, she's got a chance for sure. I mean, I think it's a close fight, and I think the judges will get involved. I got to make a pick in this one, and I'm picking Torres. What are you going to say? Sorry?
Let's speed it up, this one, man. It's not even...
Yeah. Okay, Michael Chiesa and Vicente Luque, guys. This fight's amazing. Minus 110 each. Love this fight, Marcel. Absolutely love this fight. I think the winner of this fight, probably one win away from a title shot. Marcel, minus 110 each, man. It's a truly pick-em fight. Most people have no idea what they're picking in this one, but what are you thinking, man?
So, yeah, if you look at both fighters, I really like both guys, man. I think Vicente Luque, he's must-watch TV. He always comes to scrap. Actually, his ground game is very good, man, but he's just like his teammate Gilbert Burns. He absolutely falls in love with his striking all the damn time, and he uses a lot of striking the whole time. You saw against Tyron Woodley. He had Woodley, he went wild, and he got staggered himself, and then he finished Woodley with the Darce show. Michael Chiesa, a very smart fight last time against Neil Magny. It wasn't really fun to watch. 5 rounds domination on the ground. But that's how Chiesa fights, man, if he doesn't get the submission, it's. I mean, can Luque finish him? Yes, but I think that Luque will be wild and that Chiesa will go for the takedown and try to hold him down. Probably, listen, man. If Luque cannot stand up from that position and Chiesa is able to hold him down, he will have a tough night. I expect that to happen, man. I think Chiesa wins the fight, unanimous decision.
I hate to say I agree with you because I do, and I don't want to agree with you because I want Luque to win this fight and knock out Chiesa and get a title shot because I absolutely love this dude. He's an absolute fucking savage, Marcel. The guy is a true MMA fighter. I love watching him fight. To me, he's one of the most exciting guys in the game, and every single time he steps in the cage, it's a good scrap. I just think that Chiesa's wrestling has been so dominant at 170, guys, and the guy just looked incredible. The gas tank takedowns just galore. I think he probably wins the fight by decision, but I agree completely with Born Again. I agree completely with you because Chiesa was subbed by a Darce choke by Jorge Masvidal in their fight, and Luque's number 1 submission is his Darce choke. He's amazing with it. I think there is a chance that he could get a Darce. So I will say that I'm going to pick Chiesa by decision in this fight, Marcel. Again, I hate picking him here because I want Luque to win. My heart's telling me, like, please, Luque, win. You know what I mean, Marcel? Because I want to see him fight for the belt because he's so exciting. But Chiesa's going to take him down and hold him there, I think. What are you going to say?
Who you expected me to
I thought you picked Luque because I'm looking at the comments and Matt loves Luque. He thinks that Luque's on rock. He is. He's on a rocket ship to the belt. If he wins this fight, he probably gets the title shot. But it seems like Chiesa too. Born Again likes him too by points, and Chiesa or Luque by sub as a hedge.
The thing is,
Chiesa says Chiesa for the win, and Kevin Lee choked out Chiesa. He did, but terrible stoppage by Mario Yamasaki. One of the worst ever. Terrible. What are you gonna
say? The thing is with Luque, Luque is very good both on the ground and stand up, but Luque sometimes gets lured into craziness. You saw that with Woodley. He went for broke, didn't have his defense up. If you're gonna do that with Chiesa will shoot for your legs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he gets too caught up sometimes and going too crazy, and it's very fun to watch. It's amazing to watch.
I love
That's why we love Luque.
Love the guy.
That's why we love him. But it's dangerous against a guy against Chiesa who is very, very good in making the fight. Getting the fight to his strength, you know what I mean?
I
to fight smart. He has a high fight IQ, in my opinion, Michael Chiesa. So that's the thing,
Yeah, I agree. I even wrote in my breakdowns coming out to where whoever gets the fight to their realm will probably win this fight. Even though I think Luque does have a chance for that Darce too. All right, next fight. 2 more fights, guys. Jose Aldo, Pedro Munhoz, minus 110 each. It's a pick-up fight, Marcel. What do you think, man? This one's super close too. What do you think?
Yeah, Pedro Munhoz, I really like the dude, man. I think in his last few fights, the Frankie Edgar loss, he actually won that fight in my opinion. But hey, man, I don't want to talk any shit about Frankie Edgar. He's a legend. Aljamain Sterling was his last real loss in my opinion, 2019. Did not expect that honestly, man, because I thought Munhoz would give him a real good fight and might have could have won, but
Yep.
Sterling did well and Sterling won that fight.
Yep.
If you look at his other loss, John Dodson, a split decision, a fight where I think he won, if I'm correctly, a Jimmy Rivera fight, also split decision. So
And also,
it's like,
he beat Frankie Edgar. I'm convinced he beat Frankie Edgar in that fight.
yeah. So I mean, it's if you look at Jose Aldo, I mean, we all know Aldo. Aldo is amazing,
Yep.
but is it, in my opinion, in his prime anymore? Although he looked good against Vera, he won the second and third round against Marlon Vera, and therefore won the fight. Before that, 3 losses in a row, but against very quality competition, against a former champion Piotr Jan, maybe a future champion again, Marlon Moraes, and the current featherweight champion Alexander Volkanovski, who was not the champion yet. So. If you asked me this 5 years ago, I would be all on Jose Aldo in this one. But I think Pedro Munhoz is still more in his prime than Jose Aldo. And I see Pedro Munhoz winning this one. I don't see a finisher taking Munhoz by a unanimous decision.
Yeah, this one's tough. I mean, I was thinking Munhoz, honestly. My fiance, she's Portuguese, and her brother's name is Pedro. She's a huge fan of Pedro Munhoz, and she's convinced he wins. We were in Vegas when Aldo lost to Moraes, and we also saw the fight with Jan, and she just thinks Aldo is out of his prime, just like you do. And I agree, Marcel, but here's the thing. Pedro's not a young guy. He's the same age. Actually, I think he's 2 days older maybe or something. They're basically born 2 days apart. And the thing is, I look at that fight with Sterling, I watched it again. He got outstruck by Aljamain Sterling, and he's fighting Jose Aldo, one of the best strikers of all time. I got to go with Aldo by decision. I think he can win this fight by decision, Marcel. It'd be nice to see Munhoz, be aggressive and get the KO like that Garbrandt fight, maybe announce his name as a title contender at 135. But I just think that Aldo, you're giving me a pick and price. I'm going to take him here by decision. That's what I'm thinking. What do you say? Yeah.
You think Pedro Munhoz should change his nickname?
The young Punisher, dude, he's 35, right? Isn't he? He's older than me, man. I'm a dad now, dude. He's older than me. Like, come on. There's no way. But by the way, I'm a huge fan of both guys. Don't get me wrong. I love Pedro. I love Jose. I got to pick someone, though, guys. I'm going to take the guy who's the most experienced striker in the UFC featherweight division besides, actually he is. He's the most experienced fighter and former champ. I mean, even though I do think, he's at the end of his career, the fact he beat Marlon Vera is enough to convince me he's going to win this fight, too. Even though it was by grappling. Maybe he uses his grappling to win this fight. Maybe that's what he does instead, Marcel. Maybe he tries to wrestle Munhoz. I don't know if it's going to work. Munhoz is dangerous with that guillotine. So, he's talking about that last fight. Yeah, and you're right with Glenn, decisions for this card. Yeah, the judges can get involved for sure. This fight, I think they could definitely get involved. And it could be a split decision. This one could be close. Pavlo says the thing with Chiesa, he will now want to trade Luque. Luque may not be that fell in love with his feet in that fight. We'll see how that fight plays out. It should be a good one. Or again, sad vision about the fight ending. Let's just say I don't want to see Aldo throw low kicks. Man, imagine Aldo breaks his leg here. Holy crap. Aldo wins round 1, Munhoz round 3, round 2 we decide. I think honestly, the more I'm thinking about it, Marcel, split decision 29-28, 28-29, 29-28 for Jose Aldo by split decision. That's my pick right now. Aldo, oldest 34-year-old in the world. I mean, he is, man, but the guy still got something. Big J, congrats, Adam. Thanks, man. Great choice. Great name choice. Thanks so much, man. I appreciate that, dude. Gracie, yeah, I can't wait to meet her. See you again. 2 more minutes, Marcel. But I want to talk about this last fight, guys. You know what? I'll stick around for a few extra minutes. She definitely wants me right now. I'm like, I can hear the baby, but it's okay. Give me for a minute. I want to talk about the main event first. Grateful dude. Sure. First off, awesome nickname because Grateful Dead, obviously, big man. Congrats on being a father. Thanks so much, man. It feels amazing. I got to be honest. Munhoz, crazy pace to push. He does. I love Munhoz, man. The guy, he's volume oriented, amazing kicks too, but his kicks are his best weapon. Aldo's got better kicks than Munhoz. So it's like, to me, that's the thing I look at. All his legs screwed up. He's not throw the kicks. Possibly not, too. He's definitely at the end. Okay, so I still think it's going to be close. Like, again, thought he beat Marlon Moraes, Marcel, personally. Peter Yan, he was somewhat competitive with until the end. Obviously got beaten down in the last round. But against Marlon Vera proved that he's still got a little bit left in the tank. I think he can win this fight. All right, guys. Last fight of the night, main event, Ciryl Gane against Derrick Lewis. Minus 370 for Ciryl Gane. Derrick Lewis plus 310. Once again, Derrick Lewis, an absolutely massive underdog, Marcel. Can he do it? Can Derrick Lewis beat Ciryl Gane in his native Houston, Texas. What do you think is going to happen in this one, man?
Man, I really have to take a piss, so I'm going to be quick in this one. I'm sorry, man.
That's okay. That's okay. We're almost done anyways. Go ahead.
Yeah, Ciryl Gane going to win, unanimous decision. If not, Lewis will probably knock him out in the first, but Ciryl Gane, unanimous decision.
Oh, there you go. Marcel with the quick pick there. I mean, for me, Bat saying gone by decision. I'm going to be quick on this one. Marcel's got to get out of here.
Please.
Yeah, it will be. For me, I think it's going to be an interesting fight because I think Derrick's definitely underrated. I think in general as a good striker, I think he's a good striker. But, I question his durability a little bit, and people aren't talking about that enough. He's been knocked out a few times. He's like overing, man, to me. So look at that fight, Junior Dos Santos, who knocked him out like 2 years ago, I think. Mark Hunt. This is a 5-round fight. Can Derrick Lewis go 5 rounds? I don't think so. I think a lot of people will probably pick Gane by decision like you did, Marcel. I think Gane knocks him out. I think Gane can actually knock him out in this fight. Big J likes under 4.5. I actually do too, guys. I think there's a finish in this fight, Marcel. I know you're saying decision. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, that's what Gane's been doing, but I think a finish is possible. Born against his Lewis low-key at glass cannon, but he finished all his losses. That's another thing. Like Sean Jordan finishing, Matt Mitrione, Gane for the win. Yeah, I think he does win. Hedged by Louis Blanco. That's the thing, because, again, you saw against Curtis Blades, the fight-ending power. Hunted JDS or technically sound, so it's Gane. I agree. Marcel, you can plug your stuff and get out of here, and then I'll plug my stuff. Go ahead.
Big Marcel24, Twitter, Instagram, MMADNA.nl, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, wherever you can find it.
Yeah, and Glenn says he thinks it's going to be a decision for Gane. Definitely possible. All right, guys, thanks so much again for joining. Marcel, it's okay. Get out of here. Go take your PA message. Let me talk to you guys for a minute here. Yeah, no worries. I'm going to get out here in a minute, guys, but I wanted to say I appreciate everyone who joined in today the podcast. A lot of fun, obviously. I love taking the comments. For now, we're going to do Monday and Tuesday for the podcast. Obviously, today was Thursday, but it's going to be Monday and Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, guys. For now, if anything changes, I'll let you know, but I think it's going to be fine to do 2 podcasts a week with you guys. I love doing it, man. So recap show Monday. Tuesday is going to be the preview show. Thursday is going to be canceled going forward. But you guys obviously can follow my writing and everything. I'm everywhere. BJ Penn, Miami News, Elite Fantasy, Elite Sports Betting. I'll have my article out. I'm going to do a podcast tomorrow. I'm not working this week at BJ. It's my first week off in a year, if you guys can believe it. So nice to have a week off of work, but I still wanted to do the podcast, obviously, because I'm still watching these fights. So I'm looking forward to Saturday, guys, just like you. But yeah, keep listening to the podcast, guys. You know where to find us. So I'll be back Monday with Marcel and then Tuesday as well. I'm going to get these comments. Let me finish them. God bless. Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Gone by sub is 12-1. That's interesting because I think he's got a chance, man, at subbing Lewis. Just like Cormier did, but I think he knocks Lewis out. I honestly do, guys. Or again, see you guys next week. Pets podcast in the game. Dude, I love it too, man. Thanks so much. Congrats, Adam. What a chanted podcast, and appreciate it, man. Everyone said congrats, Adam. Appreciate it, man. Adam, congrats to the new journey. Hope your family's good. Ends up a great time. Thanks, Pablo. Appreciate it. Enjoy some time with the fam, my dude. Thanks, man. It's a little girl, man. Her name is Gracie, just like the Gracie family, which created the sport that I cover for a living and that I love. And for me, it's like I wanted her name to mean something. You know what I mean? And to me, she'll always have that. And I'll tell you guys right now, as soon as this girl can do martial arts, she's going to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai, hopefully. But I definitely want her to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I think that'd be amazing for her to do. And I want this girl to be a tough girl, just like her daddy, right? And love MMA just like me. She's going to watch MMA her whole life, so it's going to be awesome. And Ciryl, he thinks Lewis as a dog, and he's got a chance. I think you bet on him against Blades. I'm pretty sure, man. Knocked him out. I got to get out of here, guys. Thanks again so much. Appreciate all the love, guys. Really do. I'll be back Monday with Marcel, and we'll recap UFC 265. Until then, you guys can message me on Twitter. Peace out, guys.